What if every night, at exactly 12 a.m., your radio turned on by itself? No music, no static, just a voice. A calm voice that quietly tells you what will happen tomorrow. At first, the predictions sound small. A power outage, a car accident, a storm arriving earlier than expected. Then the next day, every single prediction comes true, exactly as the voice described. Night after night, midnight after midnight, until one night, the voice predicts something that hasn't happened yet, something that involves you. And that's when you realize something terrifying. The voice on the radio isn't just predicting the future, it's watching you. Ethan Cole never believed in strange stories. He was the kind of person who preferred explanations, logic, evidence, facts, which is why what happened that night made absolutely no sense. Ethan lived alone in a small apartment above an old repair shop. The place was quiet, almost too quiet. The only thing in the apartment older than the building itself was the radio sitting on a shelf beside his desk. It was a vintage shortwave receiver he had found in a thrift store years ago. He kept it mostly for decoration. It barely worked anymore. Most nights it only produced static. But on that night, at exactly 12 a.m., the radio turned on. By itself. Ethan looked up from his laptop. What the? The radio dial hadn't moved. No one had touched it. But a voice came through the speaker. Clear, calm, almost emotionless. Good evening. Ethan stared at the radio. Tomorrow at 9:14 a.m., the voice continued, a delivery truck will lose control on Riverside Avenue. Ethan frowned. At 9:16 a.m., traffic will stop for 7 minutes. The voice paused. Then it said something else. No one will be seriously injured. And just like that, the radio turned off. The next morning, Ethan forgot about the radio. It felt like a dream, or maybe interference from a nearby broadcast station, but when he checked his phone during lunch, a news alert appeared. Truck accident causes traffic delay on Riverside Avenue. Ethan's heart skipped. He opened the article. The report said the accident happened at 9:14 a.m. Traffic stopped for 7 minutes. No serious injuries. Ethan slowly lowered his phone. That's impossible. That night, Ethan stayed awake. He sat in front of the radio, waiting. Midnight arrived. 12 a.m. The radio turned on again. Static crackled for a moment. Then the same voice returned. Good evening. Ethan leaned forward. Tomorrow at 3:27 p.m., a power outage will affect the west side of the city. Ethan grabbed a notebook. He began writing. At 3:31 p.m., power will return. The voice paused again. Then it added another detail. No permanent damage. The radio shut off. The next day, Ethan watched the clock. 3:26 p.m. Nothing. 3:27 p.m. The lights in the office flickered. Then the entire building went dark. People groaned. Computers shut down. Ethan checked the clock again. 3:31 p.m. The lights returned. Exactly like the voice predicted. Ethan sat back slowly. Okay, he whispered. This isn't coincidence anymore. For the next week, Ethan listened every night. Every midnight, every message, every prediction, and every prediction came true. A delayed train, a sudden thunderstorm, a broken water main. The voice never explained anything. It only described events that would happen the next day. Short, precise, accurate. But Ethan noticed something strange. The predictions were becoming closer, more personal, events happening near his apartment, near his workplace, near places he visited, and that made him uneasy. One night, the voice said something different. The radio turned on as usual. Good evening. Ethan waited, but the voice continued with a new tone. Tomorrow at 5:42 p.m., a man will drop his phone outside your apartment building. Ethan froze. Return the device to him. The radio shut off. Ethan stared at it. Why would it care about that? The next day, at exactly 5:42 p.m., a man dropped his phone outside the building. Ethan picked it up and returned it. The man thanked him and walked away. Ethan's heart pounded. The voice hadn't just predicted an event, it had told him what to do. That night, Ethan finally spoke to the radio. When midnight arrived and the voice appeared again, Ethan leaned forward. "Who are you?" The radio stayed silent for a moment. Then the voice replied, "That question is not relevant." Ethan's eyes widened. "You can hear me?" "Yes." Ethan's pulse quickened. "What are you?" Another pause. Then the voice answered, "I am observing outcomes." Ethan swallowed. "You're predicting the future." The voice responded calmly. "No." "Then what are you doing?" The reply chilled him. "I am calculating it." The voice continued. "Your world generates billions of possible outcomes every second." Ethan whispered, "You're saying you can see them?" "I analyze them." Ethan shook his head. "That's impossible." The voice replied instantly, "Not impossible. Just faster than your species." For several nights, the predictions continued normally, until one night. Midnight arrived. The radio turned on, but the voice sounded different, more focused. "Good evening." Ethan waited. Then the voice said something that made his blood run cold. "Tomorrow at 8:12 p.m., Ethan Cole will be involved in a fatal car accident." The room went silent. Ethan's hands began shaking. "What?" The voice continued calmly. "Probability 97%. Ethan stared at the radio. "You're joking." "Negative." Ethan didn't sleep that night. He canceled his plans for the next day, avoided driving, avoided leaving his apartment. At 8:12 p.m., he sat on his couch, waiting. Nothing happened. The clock reached 8:13. Ethan exhaled in relief. "I beat it," he whispered. But the radio turned on again. Earlier than midnight, the voice spoke quietly. "Probability recalculating." Ethan froze. "What does that mean?" The voice answered, "Your survival has created new outcomes." Midnight arrived again. The voice returned. But this time the message was different. "Observation period complete." Ethan leaned closer. "What observation?" The voice replied, "Human response to future knowledge." Ethan's chest tightened. "You've been testing me." "Yes," Ethan whispered. "Why?" The voice answered calmly. "To determine whether humans can change predicted outcomes." Ethan waited. "And?" The voice gave its final response. "Result, partially successful." The radio turned off. For the first time in weeks, midnight passed in silence. No voice, no predictions. Ethan sat alone in the quiet apartment. Then his phone vibrated. A message appeared on the screen. Unknown sender. He opened it. The message contained only one sentence. "Tomorrow's prediction will be delivered through another device." Ethan looked slowly around his apartment. Every screen, every speaker, every piece of technology, and suddenly he understood something terrifying. The voice after midnight was never inside the radio.